Thousands of rounds of ammunition were stored in its wings, each gun tested on the ground, ready to unleash a storm of fire. The P-47 Thunderbolt was unlike anything the skies of Europe had ever seen. In 1943, when German pilots first laid eyes on this massive American fighter, they laughed. To them, it looked ungainly, slow, and clumsy, a lumbering giant in the sky. They called it the 7-ton milk bottle, confident that their sleek Messerschmitts and Focke-Wulfs could easily tear it apart. But their laughter would soon turn to fear. Hidden beneath the Jug's bulky frame was a lethal combination of firepower, speed, and resilience. 8.50 caliber machine guns roared from its wings, its dive speed was devastating, and its armor could shrug off attacks that would have destroyed almost any other plane. The story of the Thunderbolt begins long before it became a nightmare for the Luftwaffe. In 1940, with Europe engulfed in war and America still neutral, engineers at Republic Aviation faced a monumental task: design a fighter that could dominate the skies, protect bombers, and survive the deadliest German planes. Lead engineer Alexander Cartwright took on the challenge. His answer wasn't elegant, it was brute force. The P-47 was built around one of the most powerful engines of the time, the 2,000 horsepower Pratt & Whitney R-2800 Double Wasp. This engine, massive and radial, gave the Jug unmatched strength and endurance. Fully loaded, the P-47 weighed nearly 17,000 pounds, dwarfing both the Spitfire and the Messerschmitt Bf 109. Its wide, rounded fuselage earned it the nickname, Jug. What began as mockery soon became a name spoken with awe and respect. Its armament was unmatched. 8.50 caliber Browning machine guns, 4 in each wing, could fire over 100 rounds per second. That was nearly 13 pounds of lead raining down every single second. German fighters, typically armed with 2 cannons and 2 rifle-caliber machine guns, had no answer. The Jug could drown its enemies in fire. But firepower was only half the story. The P-47 was built like a tank in the sky. Its air-cooled radial engine absorbed punishment that would have set liquid-cooled engines ablaze. Its wings and fuselage were reinforced for extreme stress, and its cockpit was armored to protect the pilot from flak and cannon shells. Pilots would later swear that no other fighter could take as much damage and still return home. At first, the Thunderbolt had flaws. Its size guzzled fuel, limiting early models' range. Its climb rate was sluggish, and it lacked the nimble maneuverability of German fighters. But these were minor issues compared to its real strengths: dive speed, durability, and unmatched firepower. The Jug wasn't designed to outturn enemies, it was built to crush them. When it finally appeared over Europe in 1943, the Luftwaffe's reaction was predictable. German pilots mocked it, certain that the Jug would be easy prey. Precision, discipline, and agility had always been their advantages, and this heavy American fighter seemed like an easy target. But American pilots quickly adapted. They discovered the Thunderbolt's unique edge, its incredible dive speed. When a P-47 dove from altitude, its weight transformed into raw velocity. German planes that tried to follow often found their controls locking up, their wings shuddering under stress. The Jug simply kept going, pulling out at over 500 miles per hour. And the Germans soon realized the Jug could take punishment like no other. Pilots reported cannon hits that should have destroyed it, yet the P-47 staggered, smoked, and kept flying. It was like shooting at a miniature flying fortress, a machine that refused to die. Then there was the firepower. 8.50 caliber machine guns could shred wings, engines, and cockpits in seconds. One burst could disintegrate a fighter or wreak havoc on ground targets. German pilots, once smug, now faced fear in the sky. The P-47 wasn't just a fighter, it was a predator. Bombs and rockets allowed it to attack convoys, trains, and tanks. German troops on the ground learned to fear the low growl of its engine, knowing that death could arrive within seconds. What began as laughter had transformed into dread. By 1944, the Thunderbolt had cemented its reputation. It escorted bombers, engaged enemy fighters, and struck ground targets with precision and brutality. German pilots' confidence eroded as American airmen used the Jug's weight and firepower to dominate the skies. During D-Day, the P-47 proved decisive. Thunderbolts strafed rail lines, cut communications, and struck reinforcements moving toward the beaches. For German soldiers, the massive fighters weren't just a threat, they were nightmares come to life. The Battle of the Bulge further cemented the Jug's fearsome role. Once weather cleared, P-47 swooped down on German convoys, tearing apart tanks, trucks, and artillery. Their .50 caliber guns shredded anything in their path, rockets blew heavy armor apart, and the psychological impact was total. Entire units refused to move in daylight, convinced the skies themselves were deadly. When the war in Europe came to an end in 1945, the skies had been changed forever by the roar of the Thunderbolt. It was no longer mocked as heavy or clumsy. It was celebrated as a war machine that had protected bombers, dominated dogfights, and crushed enemy ground forces. In total, the P-47 flew over 500,000 sorties during World War II. It destroyed nearly 90,000 railway cars, 6,000 armored vehicles, and more than 60,000 trucks. In the air, it claimed thousands of enemy aircraft, earning a fearsome reputation among Luftwaffe pilots. American pilots who flew the Jug never forgot its toughness. Many owed their lives to its armored cockpit and durable radial engine. Time and time again, Thunderbolts returned home with holes punched through their wings, engines smoking, sometimes landing on a single wheel, but still bringing their pilots back alive. But its legacy didn't end with Germany's surrender. After Europe, the Thunderbolt also saw service in the Pacific, where its firepower devastated Japanese positions, railways, and supply lines. Though it entered the war as an underdog, by the end it had become one of the most feared and respected aircraft in the world. Even after World War II, the Thunderbolt lived on. It served with Allied air forces across the globe, France, Brazil, Italy, and many others, fighting in conflicts long after the war had ended. Its rugged design made it a natural choice for nations rebuilding their militaries in the post-war era. Yet despite its strength, the jet age was coming fast. Sleeker, faster aircraft began replacing the mighty Jug. By the 1950s, most Thunderbolts had been retired, preserved only in museums or left to rest in forgotten airfields. But the legend of the P-47 never faded. Aviation historians still call it one of the most effective fighter bombers of all time. Pilots remember it not just as a machine of war, but as a loyal guardian that carried them through hell and brought them home. The Luftwaffe once mocked it as a 7-ton milk bottle. But history remembers it as something else, the flying hammer of the Allies, the nightmare of the Reich, and the thundering storm that helped turn the tide of World War II. The P-47 Thunderbolt wasn't just an airplane. It was a symbol of American power, resilience, and relentless determination. Its legacy still echoes in the skies it once ruled. The Germans learned this the hard way. Luftwaffe aces who once bragged about outmaneuvering Allied fighters soon realized the Jug couldn't be treated the same. They called it a flying tank. To German troops on the ground, the low hum of its engine was a warning of destruction. Soldiers froze at the sound, knowing that within moments, bombs and machine gun fire would rain down on them. But for Allied troops on the ground, the Thunderbolt was a guardian angel. Infantrymen cheered when they saw it overhead, knowing the Jug's guns and rockets would tear through enemy positions. To them, the P-47 meant survival. Even today, veterans who flew the Thunderbolt speak of it with affection, calling it the toughest, most dependable aircraft they ever flew. It wasn't just about power, it was about trust. In the chaos of war, the P-47 gave them a chance to come home. By the end of the war, the the Thunderbolt had shattered the Luftwaffe's morale. What had once been dismissed as a clumsy giant had become an unstoppable hunter in the sky. The Jug's roar echoed across Germany, its guns marking the collapse of the Reich. The P-47 Thunderbolt was more than a plane, it was a storm of steel. In the hands of skilled pilots, it turned the tide of air war in Europe, protected Allied forces, and left an indelible mark on history. The Luftwaffe never forgot it, and neither will history.